What's up, guys? Chris of yugioh here. Good morning. Oh, it's morning here in California. Coming at you with a deck discussion video of a deck that I like so much. A deck that I first started. This is one of the first decks I played in Yu-Gi-Oh! Aside from Aliens, but this is the first competitive. Well, this is the first deck I played in Yu-Gi-Oh! In a competitive scene. Like when I made Watts back in Wind Up Loop format, I was making it really competitive for the meta. So I haven't been playing this deck recently just because Dragon Rulers have been a thing, and it's really hard to play a deck like this against Dragon Rulers because Dragon Rulers are so fast, and Watts, sadly, are not as fast as I would like them to be. Even with Thunder Seahorse, even with Wa Cobra, and even with Triple Shard of Greed, it cannot keep up with the speed of Dragon Rulers. But I did start playing the deck on dueling rated matches, and in matches, I've played 4 Dragon Rulers in a row, and I've actually been winning. It's dueling network, and just to show you that my rating is actually not bad, I'm gonna go to my profile, and there's my rating for dueling network, matches. So it's whatever. So back to the WOD deck profile. I do like this deck a lot, and ever since it came out, I never used the Hopper Lock. The reason I didn't use the Hopper Lock, or I still don't use the Hopper Lock, is because Skill Drain, Black Rose, Dark Hole, Torrential, those are all really, really big cards. And the Hopper Lock loses to those cards. And I know you can main deck Starlight Road and Huge Revolution is over, but those cards take up a lot of space in the deck just to protect a WOT Lock. And even then, it takes a couple turns to get off a WOT Lock. And it's good, but for whatever reason, it doesn't go off properly. You're stuck to a point where you're playing with 1,000, 1,200, and another 1,000 attack point monsters, and it's really hard to play around if your WOT Lock doesn't go off successfully. So I made a build in which it really just relies on your back row and poking. And I know that sounds really noobish, but believe it or not, there are certain plays you have to do to get around certain cards. It's really hard to play around Scrap Dragon, Diamond Dire Wolf, Draco Sack, all that stuff. Let's get into the deck profile and a little discussion. So I main triple Dyna because I used to main double Dyna back in Wind Up Loop format and Wind Up Shockmaster format just because Dyna was really good and it stops almost everything in the meta. Right now it really only stops Dragon Rulers and Mermails more or less, but regardless, even Fire Fist special summon, you can name one deck right now that's really topping high that does not special summon every now and then. So Dyna's really good because he has 2 effects, which is just can't special summon, and then he destroys special summon monsters after you split face up. So it gets rid of Ophion, it gets rid of Pleiades, and it gets rid of any other problem cards that are on the field. I main deck the Honest because I stopped main decking Macro. Ever since Macro went to 1, I just didn't main deck it just because I never really felt like maining the 1 Macro was really worth it because it's kind of I drew Macro, I don't draw Macro. Honest is kind of the same thing, but Honest is more okay, I have Honest, so if my back row doesn't survive, then I'm gonna pitch Honest and damage step and hopefully win that way or something. So, double Thunder Seahorse. I stopped playing 3 Thunder Seahorse because I virtually only have 3 targets that I really want. I don't ever want to get 2 Dragonflies to my hand. And then since I only main 2 Watt Pheasants, sometimes one of the targets is gone, so I just put in 2 and to make room in the deck. Triple Watt Cobra, Triple Watt Dragonfly, Triple Watt Giraffe, and Double Watt Pheasant. I'm not going to explain the effects because it takes so much time, but just look them up. They're actually really good effects. Watt Giraffe has one of the best effects in the game. So, Double Messenger of Peace. I only played 2, not 3, because a lot of things to get over Messenger of Peace nowadays, like Card Trooper if you mill 2, the Breeze Dragon, and a bunch of other stuff. 2 MSTs, Triple Duality, and Triple Shard of Greed. Believe it or not, with Triple Duality and Triple Shard of Greed, this deck is still not as fast as I would want it to be. The main speed in this deck is searching off of Cobra, but I do main the Triple Shard of Greed just so I can get the draw power. It's kind of like a Gold Sark in my opinion when you do the Dragon Ruler thing, because it's a +1 later. So, problem is this is to stay face up on the field, which actually isn't that bad because a lot of times players are tempted to hit this instead of hitting my swords, my messenger, or my red screen, and then I keep the stalls going as I search with Cobra. So triple swords, it's really good in the deck. A lot of people think they can last with 3 turns of not attacking, but in reality, in 3 turns I'm gonna hit for 5,000 damage already. So I don't know if that's really a thing that players don't really want to do. Bottomless and Compulse because they get rid of the Scrap Dragons and the Draco Sacks and stuff like that I have problems with, so I just main deck them. Double Imperial Iron Wall. Yes, I do main the Dragon Ruler hate because the Dragon Ruler is the hardest matchup. Imperial Iron Wall is mostly dead against almost anything else other than Dragons and Mermails. Yeah, you can argue that it stops Evil Storm's Kirkion and it stops Sombray, but regardless, it's just not that good. But I do main it because against the Dragon Ruler matchup, it is almost auto win. They have to main MSCs, they have to have their Regeki breaks, and even if they have those cards early game, then that means that they don't have that many dragons in their hand. I do side it out appropriately, and I do side in more Dragon Hate, but I'm not entirely sure if I want to main deck more Dragon Hate just because I don't like messing with decks like this when it comes to its consistency. And I do know that Yugioh's 1 YCS and they main 10 cards to go against dragons, but that's a YCS. This isn't YCS right now. This is Dueling Network. If I would play, I tempted to take this to regionals, and I might. No, actually, I would leave it like this because after last regionals, I only saw 4 dragons, so I can just slide in appropriately for those matchups. Triple Threatening Roar and then triple red screen. Red screen, if you don't know what it does, you can read it. Your opponent's monsters cannot declare attacks, and then this card's controller must pay 1,000 life points during each of the end phase. This is not optional. It has a second effect about Red Dragon Archfiend, which I never bothered to read because I don't run Red Dragon Archfiend. Yeah, so pretty much your opponent can attack. Every end phase you pay 1,000. If you're ever at less than 1,000, this card is destroyed. You don't die from it. You can never die from this card unless you have exactly 1,000, because it is a maintenance cost. And I've looked at rolling up countless times because people always try and will strike me on that, and people don't understand. Just clarifying that it's a really good card. You can honestly run it in other decks. You can probably even run it in Dragon Rulers if you really wanted to. For my side deck is D-Fissure, the MST, Triple DNA Surgery because spellbooks are a really hard thing to play around because Fate and Priestess are a big thing. Goes in match, again, the more Dragon Ruler hate, the 3rd Imperial, 2 Light Imprisoning Mirror. Believe it or not, I do have this in my side, and if you're wondering why is this in your side if you're playing Watts who are all light, Light Imprisoning Mirror negates all light monsters' effects that activate on the field. Keyword is activate. When Watt monsters attack directly, they do not activate. So, I do have a hard matchup against stuff like Lightsworns, mainly because Raikou pops, Lila pops, Judgment Dragon explodes everything, and especially with the new Lightsworn support, that new Synchro, that guy really does put a dent in my deck. So I do have the Light Imprisonings in my side deck. I've never taken them out ever since Chaos Dragons were a thing because I've always been afraid of Lila and Raikou. What I usually do with this is I flip Light Imprisoning Mirror, they can't Raikou, Lila, pop me, etc. Usually they don't main MSTs, but I'm sure they'd side them, so I have to waste their MSTs on this. And then even to top it off, like, it's not that hard to just poke with 2 Watts. It takes about 4 turns to win at that point. So I can still attack directly, I just won't search off Cobra, and I just won't, like, get Pheasant's Vanishing Effect, which isn't that bad. But, yeah, I usually hope to use this after I search off Cobra, so I can at least have 2 Watt monsters. 1 Macrocosmos because I hate Dark Worlds. I just hate Dark Worlds so much to the point where I do keep the side in for them. And 1 Mirror Force against Rogue matchups. And then the 2 Rivalry. I might take out the 2 Rivalry just because I'm not entirely sure like if this is really that good. But, you know, Consider's and Evil Storms are a thing, so I might as well keep it. Double Cowboy, Gemini Pearl, Double Maestro. The Evil Storm Beelzebub. I'm really excited for this card to come out. It's so sacky. Double Utopia, 1 Black Strip of Corn, 1 Thunder Spark Dragon, 1 Utopia Ray, Pavel Operative, Pally Dynamo, Diamond Direwolf, and this new guy, Honors Archetype. I know these cards are OCG, and I can't play them at the regionals, obviously, but I would shift them in for something else. I do play Utopia and Utopia Ray just because ever since I won a match with Utopia Ray for 4,000 damage, I'm never taking it out of my extra deck again. And I do play the Thunder Spark Dragon because it's really funny. I remember I was in an event once, and this guy I'm playing at Dragunities. This guy has Scrap Dragon, Red Eyes, Darkness Metal, Stardust, and Phalanx with the Vajrayana with no attachments. That's his field, right? So I have like Monster Reborn in my hand and a Watt on the field. So I go summon a different Watt, Monster Reborn, attack with Watt Giraffe directly, attack with Cobra, and attack with something else. 3,000 damage. Then I make Thunder Spark Dragon and I nuke his field. You're probably wondering why didn't he negate with Stardust? So what Giraffe's effect is when he hits when he hits directly, your opponent cannot activate anything else for the rest of the turn. So that's really good sometimes, but I don't play Dark Hole, so it kind of lost its purpose, but I really have done a play where I go Watt Giraffe attack directly, Dark Hole your Quasar, and they can't activate anything, so it's really convenient. So that was my Watt deck. I really hope you guys like it. I know some people were asking for my Watt deck because they do know that I do play Watts, and I do like this deck a lot. If you're interested in using this deck, feel free to net deck. I don't really care. Well, yeah, that's all really I can say. It's a really good deck, and it does really fare well against Dragon Rulers if you know what you're doing, I guess you could say. It's not the hard of a deck to play, to be honest, but there are some times where you do have to make their plays just to get around certain cards. Well, so yeah. So thank you for watching. I really hope you guys like my Watt deck. Feel free to ridicule. I really don't care because I love this deck, and I do know how to play it very well. I will see you guys later. Let me know what you guys want me to discuss next. See ya.